Josh George here, talking about the Sun Belt Conference, doing a 2022 college football preseason preview, college football record predictions with the Sun Belt Conference here, doing bottom to top as always, and starting in the East Division. Starting with Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern is an interesting football team that likes to lean on the run. They could have a new quarterback in Kyle Vantris this season. They also bring in Clay Helton from USC, who is going to change this team that likes to lean on the run to a team that's going to pass a little bit more. He's 46-24 as a football coach, first year at Georgia Southern, and look, they're going to change a lot this season. They were 124th in passing offense, and I just feel like that's going to change. They've got to get a new identity. I've got them 3-9 this season, 1-7 in conference play. Now, to Old Dominion. Look, Old Dominion's an interesting team. They come in ranked 111th in the power rankings this season. They ended on a big win streak, however, so kind of topsy-turvy. They lost in the bowl game, but before their bowl game, they had wins against La Tech, FIU, Middle Tennessee, and Charlotte. And against Charlotte, it was like a 56-34 win. So a team that is just really hard to judge right now. A team that I've got coming in at 3-9 and 3-5 in conference play. Now, Marshall, a team that is new to the Sun Belt, a team that is making that transition to the Sun Belt, a team that has big running backs this season. Rashim Ali is their main guy. He was a freshman All-American, and he led the team in rushing, had 23 touchdowns last season and 1,401 rush yards last year. They also brought in a transfer from Florida State, Colleen LeBourne, who will be kind of their backup running back, and he'll share carries this year. They could have a couple guys that get 800, 900 rushing yards this season. That could be huge for them. Their big question mark is their defense. Their defense was 79th in total defense last season, and it is on Lance Gertie, defensive coordinator, to turn that around. And he's really their ceiling this year. I've got him at 6-6 and 3-5 in conference play. Now, JMU, welcome to FBS college football. A team that had 12 wins last season joins the Sun Belt Conference. Big expansion for the Sun Belt. In fact, they come in projected at 6-5, according to Lindsay's magazine, after winning 12 games last season. They only play 11 this year, and their big two losses. They had a 1-point loss last year to Villanova, and they had a 6-point loss to North Dakota State. And they have a new quarterback, a transfer who played in FBS football with Colorado State last year in Todd Serentino, who was a very big-time dual threat as he had 3,000 yards of all-purpose. So, very dynamic. And how will it translate? See, they're so low in the power rankings. It's just hard to see. And then when you look at the schedule, I mean, their third game at Appalachian State, at Louisville is another one. A lot of road games, tough schedule, team that you just feel like is going to be tough to beat. even though they were number 1 in FCS in turnover margin. And if they do that, well, they'll climb up everyone's board and they'll end up playing for the conference championship probably. But my call, I've got them 6-5, 4-4. I want to see them prove themselves against some of these tougher teams like Marshall, Appalachian State, Louisville, and then they've got some, and then Coastal Carolina's going to be, and Georgia State. That's a tough finish. Okay, now to Georgia State. Look, Georgia State's a team that was 8-5 last season. They're looking to improve this season. The big thing for them, they could play teams like Auburn close because that was a 24-34 game and part of their 8 wins. They were also 8th in rushing average rushing attempts last season, but their defense gave up 403.2 yards per game. They do have their 2 biggest defenders coming back in Quinn White, who was all conference last year, and Brian Bryce, or Bryquance Brown, who had 2 interceptions, 11 pass breakups, and 42 tackles. Look, the biggest key is that keep away, run the ball offense with big seniors like Tucker Gregg and Terrence Dixon getting the ball, getting those short carries. Guys like Travis Glover being able, big left tackle, knocking people out of the right way. A lot of seniors on this O-line. Big key is keeping the ball away. Honestly, I think they've got a somewhat favorable schedule. I've got them 7-5 in the regular season and 6-2 in conference play. Then the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Look, we all know how Jeremy Chadwell, who's 30 and 19 in his 4 years, how his option offense has kind of transformed college football. And Grayson McCall is back at quarterback to run that offense with 2 running backs with high potential in Braden Bennett and Reese White. Because they were 5th in scoring offense, 6th in rushing offense, 28th in passing offense, 5th in total offense, and 11th in offensive efficiency. So, top-notch offense. Their 2 losses combined were 5 points total. So a team that should be very, very competitive. The defense only has 3 starters returning and a top-notch transfer in Jaquan Griffin from Georgia Tech. And the defensive question marks is why I have this team falling off a little bit from last season. I have them 8-4 and 6-2 in conference play. Now, to the Appalachian State Mountaineers. They return Chase Bryce at quarterback. And they have the number 1 special teams ranking in the Sun Belt Conference. They ended up losing their last 2 games last season, and their defense struggled in some of their losses. A loss to Louisiana where they gave up 41 points and a loss to Western Kentucky in the bowl game where they gave up 59 points. Their offense is ranked 22nd in scoring offense, but their turnover margin was -4 last season. If this team wants to win this conference and really challenge for a New Year's Six bowl game, their defense is going to have to create more turnovers. They're going to be starting some new guys like Nick Ross at safety and Melon Tucker at cornerback to give them a chance to do that. I've got this team going 10-2 and 8-0 in conference play. Now, to the Western Division. Louisiana Monroe. Look, we all know about Bowden. Terry Bowden is the coach. But is he a good enough coach for this team? Is he just another name? You know, he was 4-8 in his first year. He's 86 and 77 in 14 years as a coach. And Boogie Nights, the their leading receiver and their go-to guy coming back as far as returning production goes. But they ended on a huge losing streak last season, losing games to Appalachian State, Texas State, Arkansas State, LSU, and Louisiana. And the last two games were close, losing to LSU 14-27 and Louisiana 16-21. So there is potential for turnaround there, but ultimately when it comes down to it, I'm just not buying in. I've got them at 2-10 and 1-7 in conference play. Then Texas State, a team that's 126th in the power rankings, and they're really going to rely on the Spivitals. Jake Spivital, the head coach, is going to do the play calling, and Zach Spivital is going to be their defensive coordinator this year. A team that was 101st in scoring offense and 106th in scoring defense. And Jordan Reeves, their big linebacker who finished with 59 tackles and 3 sacks last season, is going to be their big defensive star. Their big offensive star, of course, is Calvin Hill, sophomore running back, who's going to get the bulk of the carries this season. But when it comes down to breaking down how I think they're going to finish, I've got them at 4-8 and 2-6 in conference play. Then South Alabama. Look, South Alabama's Caesar Sportsbook has them at 5, has their over-under set at 5 wins. They also ended on a big losing streak, losing to Troy, Appalachian State, Tennessee, and Coastal Carolina at the end of the year. And they do have 7 starters back on offense, including the majority of their offensive line. But they had a rushing attack that was only 115th in the nation. So, if you can't score, you can't win. I've got them at 4-8 and 3-5 in conference play. Now to Arkansas State, a team looking to turn things around this season. James Blackman, who transferred from Florida State and ended up throwing for 59%, completing 59% of his passes with 1,334 passing yards last season. Ended up being part of a 2-win season last year. They had big key losses on defense, including Trey Hampton and Vidal Scott and Anthony Switzer. So, and a defense that was 129th in the nation. So, I've got them. Maybe they pull it together later in the year. South Alabama and UMass, I feel like those are good homestands for them. I've got them at 4-8 and 3-5 in conference play. Now, to Southern Miss. Southern Miss. They kind of pulled things together winning their last 2 games. And they have Ty Keys, freshman at quarterback, and Frank Gord Jr. back at running back. 2 guys that have really high potential. A team that I feel like has a high ceiling but only won 3 games last season. So maybe they pull it together at the end like they did last year for a 5-7 season and a 4-4 in conference play season. Now, Troy. Troy's a team that really is going to rely on their 9 returning starters on defense. And on offense, they're going to have a quarterback controversy with Gunnar Watson and Quaidance Hawkins, who is a redshirt freshman looking to replace Watson that only passed for 1,613 yards last season, as they were 109th in total offense. So it's this defense that had 90 tackles for loss last season and three sacks per game last season that's really going to be the bulk of the team. I've got them at 6-6 and 5-3 because defense can keep you in games and maybe win you some, but ultimately you're going to need that quarterback to win those big ones. Now, Louisiana. Look, a lot of people are expecting a slight drop-off, even though Michael Desmix was coach last season and even coached in their bowl win against Marshall 36-21. And they were ranked 11th in scoring defense. But they, like some of the teams in this conference, only have 4 returning starters on defense. And It's just going to be a little bit different because you've just got a little bit of a different leader in there. For that reason, I've got them 10-2, 7-1 in conference play. So for the conference championship of the Sun Belt, it would be the Ragin' Cajuns and the Appalachian State. Look, when it comes down to it, you bet on the defense, and then you bet on the quarterback. And Appalachian State's got that. I've got them winning the conference championship, going 11-2, and sending the Ragin' Cajuns to 10-3. I'm Josh George. This was my college football preview for the Sun Belt Conference 2022.